If you want the ultimate advantage over your fantasy football league, you need to go to StatRoute.com for the best stats analysis tool available. Compare players based on performance for up to 10 seasons, home and away splits, the opposing team, weather, and more. Sign up today with the promo code SkullKingFF to get discounts on their research tool and DFS lineup builder. Again, go to StatRoute.com and enter the promo code SkullKingFF for discounts on the only fantasy stats research tool trusted by SkullKing Football. Welcome to the SkullKing Fantasy Football Podcast, powered by StatRoute.com. And now, here's your host, Ryan Skullroot.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the SkullKing Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan Skullroot and I am so happy to be live with you guys today. I've been doing a few of these lately, just recording them on my own, just due to some family situations and scheduling. It made it easier to just record them when I had the time. Today, I've got the time to do this live, so I wanted to make sure that we got this out there. We're getting closer and closer to draft season. Moving our way through July. NFL camps have started. We are less than 50 days away from kickoff of the first game. So very, very exciting times right now for everyone involved with the NFL, fantasy football in general. So real quick, we wanted to start off. We have our draft guide, again, that we have been talking about over and over and over again on the podcast. Our draft guide is up and live. You can actually go to SkullKingFootball.com and click on the 2019 draft guide, and you can click one of the two options on which one you want to get, whether you get the downloadable PDF or you get the web version that's constantly been updated. We are actually adding a new article to the web version, a kind of a specific article on Tyler Lockett and how his stats from this last year and how he's going to project into the 2019 season. But I want to share with you guys, we've actually gotten quite a few reviews of the draft guide, and just wanted to share a couple with those with you. The last couple that we got, review from Kareem, thorough analysis, great thought-provoking feature articles. Every serious fantasy football fan should read this in preparation for their drafts. Kareem, thank you for that great review. He gave us a five stars. And then Tyson also gave us 5 stars on the review of the PDF. I don't trust anyone with my I don't trust just anyone with my pre-draft prep, but these guys are amazing. Can't wait to see the rest of the stuff that they put out this season. It's worth every penny. Again, guys, I want to thank you so much for doing these reviews. We really appreciate it. We hope that you guys all find it as helpful as the 4 reviews that we've got up so far. And so, like I said, we've got rankings. I've got 3 different 15-page articles in there that are going through pick by pick through the ADPs, whether it's a 10, 12, or 14 team draft, on how to draft, who to kind of avoid, who to, and I actually left in there contingencies for Tyreek Hill. So, whether he was, whether you get the draft guide and buy the PDF before it's been updated on the web version. I'm going to be going through and making those edits now that we know officially that he's not going to be suspended, and we'll get into more of that later. So, another quick announcement: I will be on the Sports Exchange. That is a internet radio show on the WEI network. They do the Sports Exchanges on Tuesdays and Thursdays from, I believe it's from 5 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. That's 5 to 7 o'clock Eastern time. I will be on there Tuesday, July 25th. So make sure to tune in to the Sports Exchange. You can follow them on Facebook at Sports Exchange. And you can also follow them or also read them on the, I believe it's the South Florida Tribune is the online magazine that kind of helps sponsor them. So we've had a few rankers from SkullKing already go through and redo their rankings a little bit and make some adjustments. I have yet to do that. I plan on finishing that up this weekend and kind of going through how I'm seeing things are different now that we've learned more about a couple of the injuries that we're going to go through here in the news section. Now that we know officially about Tyreek Hill and some other things that I'm going to be making adjustments to as we go. So that's where we're at with some of the announcements. Why don't we go ahead and hop into today's headlines?
Today's headlines.
All right, and with today's headlines, we are going to start things off with the New York Jets. Really, the only reason I put this in here is because I think it's kind of funny. Jets head coach Adam Gase says he's emphasizing that Robbie Anderson increase his route variety instead of doing just 1 to 2 things. Maybe we can open up 5, 6, 7 things to where he's a threat on multiple levels. A lot of people are picking Robbie Anderson to be kind of that sleeper. I think he happens to be one of the more overrated wide receivers in fantasy football and in the NFL in general. I happen to think it's funny that people are so big on him, and partially because DK Metcalf is a rookie. I think everyone's low on him. Well, he can only run one route. Well, according to Adam Gase, a lot of people's darling wide receiver that's a possible sleeper candidate this year also can only run 1 or 2 routes. So just thought that was funny. I think that's the snarky Seahawks fan in me. So great news. Alex Smith has his huge leg brace coming off. Again, I don't know if he'll ever play again, just with how disgusting that injury was and the multiple infections and surgeries he's had to have since then to take the infections out. But definitely hoping that he is able to get back to at least just being able to walk regular again, just to have a normal back to where he used to be. So let me see what else do we have going on here. Sorry, pulling it up there. Ezekiel Elliott has privately said that he is planning a training camp holdout. Interesting. I know that there's a lot of discussion about whether this is going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott. The Cowboys are going to have to figure out whether or not they want to pay Dak and how much, whether or not and how much they want to pay Amari Cooper, and then they've also got Ezekiel Elliott. Now, really, Elliott has been the foundation of their success the last 3 years. And so I think it would be I mean, I know that running backs are making more and more money as we go, and it's harder to, well, it may be harder to keep all the salaries under wraps and keep them as low as possible. If you can go onto the website and go to my article that I did about Russell Wilson, about how his contract is structured, there are ways that the Cowboys can structure the contracts for these 3 guys, for Elliott, for Dak, and for Cooper, I believe, still be able to afford all 3 of them with the way that everything's going with the NFL right now. You've got all the TV contracts, I believe, are coming back up in 2022 or 2021. You've got all the streaming negotiations, with like Amazon and those companies. Those are lots and lots and lots of money. And the contracts have practically been doubling and tripling as we go. And so it's just going to mean more money for the NFL that it distributes out to the teams for salary cap space anyways. Plus, you've also got gambling becoming legalized and allowing the states to decide their own rules and their own laws on gambling on sports. So you have those things too. Because of all this, I think that it's possible for them to possibly afford all three. Again, we'll kind of see how the numbers play out for these contracts coming up, but I personally think they should re-sign Ezekiel Elliott. I think he really is the cornerstone of that offense. So, moving on. Phillip Lindsay says that he is 100%. Another thing with the Denver Broncos is that the Denver Post suggests that Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman will form a 50-50 timeshare this season, noting Lindsay hasn't run a single play in front of the new coaching staff while Freeman hogged first-team reps at Broncos OTAs and minicamp. All right. That was kind of how everything started last year, is they were kind of doing a 50-50 thing, and it just so happened that Lindsay was the better back. He hit the holes faster, was more elusive, was able to just get the job done, and ended up running, undrafted, running for over 1,000 yards. He was, honestly, he should have been getting more of the carries than he actually was. So we'll see how long this lasts. I mean, I can understand how the new coaching staff may be a little hesitant, but watch the film from last year. I think the same thing is going to happen this year. If they start 50-50, I still think it's going to go Phillip Lindsay's way. I still think that he is the more, not necessarily the more talented. He may have more determination and more of that chip on his shoulder to be the guy. So, AZCardinals.com's Darren Urban expects David Johnson's receiving skills to come back to the forefront under new coach Cliff Kingsbury. There's been a lot of talk, again, about the Cardinals and whether or not they can run a high potency offense. Think back to, who was it, Chip Kelly at the Eagles. I'm not sure they can do it as high as they want to. I've even seen this discussion on Instagram with, who was it? I believe it was Yahoo Noise. So it's Brad Evans along with a couple other analysts kind of bantering back and forth on what their offense could actually look like. And honestly, David Johnson finished as the running back 9 in PPR last year and was extremely misutilized for at least the first half of the year when Mike McCoy was the offensive coordinator, using him as a battering ram up the middle when that's never been his game. They didn't have the offensive line to do that. I think that if Kingsbury is able to use David Johnson more on the outsides, using the screen passes, even running him in the slot. I know they did that a bit with him a few years ago, or when he had that big monster season. And so I think that just getting David Johnson a little bit more involved in the offense in terms of receiving is going to be a huge boost, not only for him, but also for the Cardinals offense. So I like David Johnson this year. I still think that I personally have him as the number 5, I believe number 5 or number 6 running back in PPR to draft this year. So moving on, next story that we've got, Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones has missed 8 games through 2 seasons with multiple MCL sprains, and he had a 2-game suspension, I believe. So the Packers backfield, someone said the Packers backfield remains worth monitoring behind him. 6th round pick Dexter Williams in particular. I've kind of been saying this a little bit. I like Dexter Williams. Watching his tape when we were scouting him, doing all the player profiles in the preseason or pre-draft. I really liked what he could do. I think that he would be great in this offense. Aaron Jones missing so much time with the MCLs is a worry. That tends to be something that I stay away from. Right now, I understand that Marlon Mack had some injury issues this last year as well. Right now, the two are practically going back-to-back in drafts, in fantasy drafts. I would take Marlon Mack over Aaron Jones. That's my personal preference right now and where we're at there. So I personally like Mack over Jones. And so I would be a little bit hesitant to draft Aaron Jones. Again, knowing about the MCL sprains and everything, and then looking to see what's behind him, I kind of in the back of my mind have Dexter Williams as a possible, end of the season sleeper type of guy. So Larry Fitzgerald has been very impressed with the tempo of the new offense in Arizona. Who knows? Fitzgerald could come back and have a really solid season again this year too, after a bit of a down year last year. Let's see, where are we going next? There we go. Moving up to these next stories. I had all these picked out. I missed one. Case Keenum, where is it? Yes, Adrian Peterson. Talking of the Washington Redskins, we look really good with Case Keenum. I still don't know what's going to be happening with Haskins. There's a lot of speculation. Is Haskins going to be the starting quarterback? Is it going to be Case Keenum? You've got the theory that the best way for Haskins to learn is to just be thrown in the fire. The best way for him to learn is to hold a clipboard for the first year. I mean, honestly, who knows at this point? Until we actually can see some game tape, I'm not speculating either way. I don't have a sense of which way this one's going to go. I think it could go either way, so that's really all I can say. Until we see more, I'm just kind of holding off on this one. And by the way, I still think Adrian Peterson is the running back to own in that offense, and he's being drafted around pick 100. So Emmanuel Sanders won't be a full go to open camp. However, he has kind of cleared the way and will not be put on the PUP to start out camp. So very good. In some cases, I want to say someone else said that he is actually looking very, very explosive to start off this year. So the Packers are expected to open camp with a 3 wide receiver set of Devontae Adams, Geronimo Allison, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and then the 2 behind them, Equanimous St. Brown and Jay Kumro, start out with the 2s. I mean, really, this was the top 3 that we were kind of expecting. There's been a lot of speculation on who's going to be the real number 2. Is it going to be Geronimo Allison? Is it going to be MVS? My money right now is it's going to start with Geronimo Allison. He may get injured halfway through the season, then MVS steps into that, kind of the way he did last year. So I like Geronimo Allison. If the guy can stay healthy, he could put up monster numbers as a wide receiver 2 in that offense. So let's see. What else did I have? Only a couple more stories here. Rams' Sean McVay says that Todd Gurley is feeling great, according to Pro Football Talk. That's awesome. I still don't trust him as a running back. I think I still have him at like running back 11 or 12 right now in my rankings, just because arthritis in the knee is not something to mess with. And it is, it can seriously hamper how he does this year. So I'm not going anywhere near Todd Gurley. I will, and to be honest, right now, until we find out more, I'm still avoiding Darrell Henderson. Not because I don't think he's going to be the guy. I think Darrell Henderson is going to be a phenomenal running back. I think that he very well this year could take over the job if Gurley's knee continues to give him problems. The problem is Darrell Henderson right now in 10-team leagues. And even some in 12 teams for sure, 12-team drafts for sure, he's going in the 8th round. Right around the 8th and 9th round in 10-team leagues. That's a little too rich for a guy that we're not sure is going to start yet. And so I'm kind of holding off on that one. Again, I really like what Darrell Henderson could bring to the table, but because of the fact that he is that he is not for sure going to be the starter, he may get a lot of work. That's still a little too rich for me to be paying for Darrell Henderson. And to the big news, obviously the semi-minor news. Yesterday, the Eagles agreed to terms with Darren Sproles on a 1-year contract. Interesting that he is now back with the Eagles. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And let's see, I don't think I have anything else there. And last but not least, let's talk about the massive elephant in the room in Tyreek Hill. All right, so as far as Tyreek Hill goes, there's so many different ways to go with this. I understand that in terms of his personal life, he may be a scumbag. That's, just evidence points that direction. Whether that's actually true or not, we don't actually know for sure, but again, that's kind of the direction it points. When it comes to personal opinions about people and fantasy football, please, 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 can we not get on each other's cases about whether or not we'd play someone? Everyone has to choose how to go about designing their roster in the way that they choose. Let that be the case. Honestly, in terms of whether or not someone wants to draft Tyreek Hill onto their team and is willing to put aside the personal issues that he has had off the field, if that's enough for you not to want to draft the guy, fine. I have no problem with that. Go for it. You can construct your team in a different way. If someone chooses to put aside the stuff that's off the field and still draft someone to put on their team, fine. Let them do that. You don't need to give them crap about it just because they've got a talented player on their team and you don't like the way he is off the field. I understand that. I may get a whole bunch of crap for this, and I really don't care. I'm, voicing an opinion. I think that people are everyone's getting too riled up about too much stuff. And so I'm tired of hearing it, so I'm ranting a little bit. As far as Tyreek Hill goes, in terms of his ranking right now in fantasy drafts, I did one last night. I think he went mid-second round. He's still, as far as ADP goes and rankings in a lot of places, still, I think they mark him as like the 4th or 5th round. Obviously, that's going to change. I have, in my rankings right now, I think I had him as the wide receiver 7 in half-point PPR, and we'll possibly be moving him up a little bit even more now that we know for sure. Let's see. Aha, I had him 9th. There we go. Obviously, he's going to be going up a lot more. We've got a couple guys that still have him ranked. A couple guys that are still bringing down the consensus in terms of where he is because of the news. They haven't adjusted since the news came out. But overall, of the guys that look like they've actually adjusted their rankings for Tyreek Hill at this point. Sorry, let me pull it up one more time. There it is. I think he's ranked number 28 overall in ours, but that's because a couple guys haven't updated their rankings since the news came out. So I have him as 9th, one guy's 11th. We've got 3 guys that have him as their number 7 wide receiver. One guy's 5, one guy's 4. In terms of how we're ranking him in half-point PPR right now. So again, I'm probably going to be moving him up in my rankings. And so that's kind of where I'm at with Tyreek Hill. If you want to draft him, go ahead and draft him. Forget the noise around you. If your goal is to win and you know that Tyreek Hill is going to be a tool that'll help you get to the championship at the end of the year, draft him. If you want to have fun playing fantasy football, and part of having fun with fantasy football is rooting for certain people, and because of that you don't want to root for Tyreek Hill, don't draft him. Simple as that. And everyone, stop getting on each other's cases about whether or not he should be drafted or shouldn't be. That's everyone to choose for themselves. Let it go. He's playing. Move on. All right, so that's it for that rant. Now, real quick, I have something I wanted to go over. I've been doing some research on players and been digging into next-gen stats on ESPN, as well as some other statistics compilers. And I found some interesting stuff on George Kittle. I know that some of this has been mentioned on other sites. We even had an article from our tight end, one of our tight end writers, from John O'Mary. Again, you can look it up. You go on to the homepage of SkullKing Fantasy Football, scroll down to the tight end articles near the, about 2/3 of the way down. And the first article there is, Can Kittle Continue the Production in 2019? Written by John O'Mary. Very good article. He's got some good stats in there. I found some more today in some of my research that further convinces me that Kittle is not going to put up the numbers that he did last year. And here's some of the stuff that John brought up in his article, that in 9 games with Nate Mullins at QB, Kittle was targeted on 29% of all pass attempts. In the 9 games with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm, that includes 2017 and 2018, and the first couple games 2018, first 2 3/4 games of 2018. Kittle was only targeted 14% of the time. Now, in the beginning of the year, I want to say going into this past season, I want to say that Kittle was targeted around 20%, 20 to 21%. So it's still much better than it was last year. Again, last year Kittle was a rookie. So I think that very interesting. Moving on from there, Kittle led all wide receivers and tight ends in yards after the catch per reception at 10 yards. Here's the big thing, though. He finished with I believe is an all-time record, single season record for receiving yards for a tight end with 1,377. 870 of those yards came after the catch. That's 63.2% of his yards came after he caught the ball. The closest wide receiver or tight end to that still had 500 yards after the catch was Juju Smith-Schuster, who only 45% of his yards came after the catch. Now, you can look at running backs are a completely different animal because most of their receptions come from the backfield. So a guy may have 600 yards, 650 yards after the catch, but he also has like 625 total receiving yards because 50 of those yards are minus off because he was catching, swing passes out of the backfield. But George Kittle put up so much production after the catch, I cannot see a way that keeps up. Over 60% of your yards coming after the catch. The only other person in the top 20, was it top 20? Or no, I believe it was in the top 10 wide receivers and tight ends to have over 50% of their yards come after the catch was Golden Tate, who had 433 yards of his 795 come after the catch. 54%. The only other guy. And he had half as many yards after the catch as Kittle. Now, the other thing to look at is that Kittle only had 5 touchdowns last year. Again, part of that was probably the having Nate Mullins as his quarterback, and just the quarterback situation wasn't great. However, even bringing up the touchdowns a little bit, he's not going to get to 1,300 yards again. I would be happy. I think I would be ecstatic if George Kittle got around 1,000 yards. I think he's still going to be more in that 950 range, 950 range, and maybe 7 or 8 touchdowns. I think he comes down a little bit. I don't think he necessarily finishes as the tight end 3. I think he'll be more around the tight end 5 or 6. That's kind of where I'm at with George Kittle. So, if you want to debate me, you want to argue with me, go ahead in the comments. Go ahead and fire away. I am more than happy to have that discussion with you. Let's again, one more thing. Let's not also, forget that George Kittle was the only consistent receiving option the entire season for the 49ers. They lost their top 3 running backs. They lost Marquise Goodwin for multiple amounts of time. They lost Dante Pettis for multiple amounts of time. And they lost Pierre Garçon for much this season. He's not even with the team anymore. Kittle was the only consistent guy there. That shouldn't be the case this year, the amount of injuries that they went through. So, all right, I'm done blasting on Kittle. Again, this isn't a Seahawk 49er thing. I think he's a phenomenal talent, and it drives me nuts when he plays against us because he's always open. But I'm kind of holding back on what my expectations are in terms of his production. I just don't think he can put up the numbers that he did last year. So, all right, well, that is all I have for you here on the SkullKing Fantasy Football Podcast. Again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen, to tune in here on the live stream. And for those of you who are going to be listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're listening to it, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like us, give us a rating, review. We look forward to reading those and to hearing from you guys. Again, my name is Ryan Skullroot, and we will talk to you guys later. Hey, SkullKing Nation, thank you for listening to the SkullKing Football Podcast. Did you like this episode? If so, be sure to go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube to subscribe. Also, please leave us a rating and reviews to let us know how we can better help you rule your leagues.